And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Coming up, we will take your calls concerning last night's State of the Union, an incredible State of the Union party. Once again, thank you all who joined us. We so appreciate everybody coming in and just celebrating America. Joining us now with analysis and reaction, Dan Gaynor, Media Research Center. Dan, good morning.
Good morning. It's morning in America, literally.
Indeed. Your thoughts on the behavior last night of our friends, the Democrats, during the State of the Union?
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to give the president credit, even though some people didn't. I mean, if you turn on CNN, it was a bash fest. Even the supposed conservative on CNN was criticizing how he gave the speech. I think, he's not the best teleprompter reader, but he's much better off the cuff. So the major moment of the evening came from an ad lib from him when the Democrats, we forced the Democrats, because of his speech, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to stand up and celebrate that more women had jobs. And then, he pointed out that, you're not supposed to do that when they stood up. And then they continued, then he stood up again when he, credited them for so many women joining Congress. I thought it was an incredible moment because even journalists were saying, like, who expected to see the women standing up there chanting USA during the Trump speech? And so, I think in his heart he is a far better campaigner than he's a speech reader. And so when campaign moments come up, he does real well. As for the Democrats, they showed themselves really badly on the late-term abortion. They showed themselves real badly when he talked about security. The American public liked the speech. Democrats did not. That pretty well says it. This was a very, very bipartisan speech. It was not lost on anybody that Trump hearkened back to the day when Americans were united, World War II. And, united left and right. Well, we could argue that the left was motivated because we were also on the side of the communists, but, picky. We were still united. And
right.
that imagery, the use of the veterans in there was a unifying moment that Americans responded well to. And, Trump put out not a lot of policies, but he put out policies that in some cases Democrats could support. But, as he said, if you want, investigation and forever war, then you're not going to get the other stuff.
Dan Gaynor joining us, the Media Research Center. What did you make? And we had over 300 people, Dan, at Dave & Buster's last night in Boise, so we did our talk show afterwards, so we didn't get the rebuttal from Abrams. What was that about? The optics were, it almost looked like a pep rally at a school or something like that.
Well, it was very short, and it was about Stacey Abrams. I think I saw some person tally how many times she talked about herself. It's like 30 times or something, and she talked about, I acknowledge that I lost the race in Georgia, but voter disenfranchisement is a big issue. Meaning, in other words, I was cheated. The media, of course, loved it, but she could have come up there and read the back of a cereal box, and the media would have liked it.
Right.
They are preordained not to like Trump. They are preordained to like the far left African American woman. I mean, that's just they're stereotypical. What's funny is the people who tell you that they're not racist are the ones who will automatically dislike people based on their race or like people based on their race and gender and ethnicity and every other little checkbox diversity item you can imagine. And instead of just saying, hey, Trump did really well, the audience liked it, whether it's the CNN audience or the Fox audience or whoever, Republicans adored it, even though it wasn't filled with red meat. The the issue of pro-life is important in the conservative movement, and Democrats are really out of the mainstream on this issue. For all the media will tell you, Democrats are far out of the mainstream. If you are advocating killing babies after they're born, you're in some weird liberal bubble, where you hang out with Satan and Thanos.
Nice Avengers reference.
Yeah,
Dan Gaynor.
That's a combination I'll probably never use ever again. But I like you, I didn't get much sleep last night.
No, impossible to do that. But the president went, I think, further than any Republican has ever gone when he was talking about MS-13, obviously the border, and making his case.
Well, but he did so in not. I mean, he didn't do it in an abusive fashion. He could have. He didn't do it in an abusive fashion. I mean, he didn't ram home the number, just Molly Tibbetts, Kate Steinle, Nabor Hassan, Ranil Singh. He didn't just name, didn't just pound them. It was trying to be a unifying speech, trying to give the liberals an opportunity to get behind national security. They just won't do it. That is flat out, they're not going to. And so he's going to be left with a choice in, I think, 9 days where he's going to have to declare an emergency at the border and everything's going to be divisive again. And because they've decided, and they're right on this point, they've decided that Donald Trump doesn't get reelected unless he really makes a hard run at the wall. Now, they've also decided they don't care about national security or safety. They care more about the illegal immigrants than American citizens. Those are all political calculations they've made. They do not care. If you're listening to this program right now, they don't care if someone in your family is a victim of illegal immigrant crime. They don't care if someone's, that's just the cost of doing business to them, to getting more voters in, because they know there's going to be an amnesty. And all the illegal aliens who come in know there's going to be an amnesty. This is one, no matter how much you adore Ronald Reagan listened to the experts at the time. They said amnesty would solve the problem. But what it did, it created a false incentive and encouraged 22 million illegal aliens to come into the country. And, we're not putting them all on trains. You can't put 22 million people all on trains and boxcars. I mean, it would be just insane. It would look evil. It would end up being evil. So they're going to end up becoming citizens, or they're going to live second-class citizens all their lives, and their kids will be citizens. Either way you look at it, the problem, eventually that group becomes citizens. And when they do, they're going to vote overwhelmingly Democratic. They're going to change the culture and the politics of the country.
Dan Gaynor joining us. Dan, we always appreciate you from the Media Research Center. Anything else we should be looking out for?
Certainly, like I said, I think the great moment was the moment with the women in the audience. But there was some amazing stuff in the speech, talking about infrastructure and talking about ways that the two parties can work together. And so it'll be interesting to see how many of those things happen. But the mere fact that the President of the United States, say what you want, even about Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump is the most pro-life President of the United States we've ever had. And that astonishes me. But I was reading one press account that said that he is genuinely upset about the position that the Democrats have taken about late-term abortion and post-birth abortion. We call it murder. And I don't know if that is just a gradual political shift as Donald Trump has become more politically aware, or if the influence of Mike Pence, or both, or something else. I don't know. But speaking as a pro-life voter, the pro-life movement got everything they would want from Donald Trump last night, and frankly, in 2 years of his presidency, including 2 pro-life justices, and maybe a third, depending on whether Ruth Bader Ginsburg finishes out her term or retires.
It was pretty inspiring, personally, to see Gorsuch and Kavanaugh there.
Yeah, and then of course they take little digs at him, and Chris Cillizza from CNN, Kavanaugh to Trump, I love beer. Come on. So much of what happens in the media coverage of this has become now snark, as everybody just wants to get retweeted on Twitter. And,
right.
In this way, Twitter is really, really degrades the American system more so than I think anyone realizes. It just becomes a quest for attention. And the snarkier, more offensive, more obnoxious, more adversarial comments get more attention. I mean, I can tell you from my own Twitter. There's one network reporter who I have generally kind of a positive relationship with. We never talk about politics, but she tweeted out, how inspiring the part about the young girl cancer survivor was, and she, the way she worded it, I just sent her a note, just a tweet. I said, "Well, I like following you. You have a good heart," and and this is, of course, that kind of interaction gets no support on Twitter at all. And that's the problem. If you unify, if you find common ground, Twitter skewers you or ignores you.
Dan Gator, the one, the only, Media Research Center, newsbusters.org. A lot of great videos that we'll be sharing. And, of course, you can get at newsbusters.org reacting to the State of the Union. My favorite, Van Jones, was psychotically...
Cookies and dog poop.
Yeah, cookies and dog poop. Dan Gator, thank you, brother.
Yeah, I have to say, Van Jones is better than anybody at saying the most stupid thing humanly possible and getting attention for it.
Dan, have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Jim, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for the birthday card yesterday, by the way.
Oh, you're very welcome. Happy birthday again, Kevin. Anyway, Ian, thanks for putting that debate, or excuse me, the State of the Union party together. That was very nice. Angela and I enjoyed it. We met some nice folks there as well. And anyway, President Trump did a fantastic job. I think he surprised just about everybody, and he was more presidential than I've ever seen him. I think he did great last night.
He mentioned things that no other president, certainly not a Republican, has ever gone. When he talked about MS-13, he talked about life. The idea of talking about the Holocaust survivor and the people that liberated the Nazi concentration camps, the D-Day survivors. That's something that America needs. It really runs counter to the narrative that we're all bad and America's a bad place. I think we forget that sometimes because that's all we hear from the mainstream media outlets.
Kevin, you're right. And Trump is the first conservative Republican president, aside from Reagan, that we've had that's passionate, believes in what he says. And it comes through, and you've heard me say it before, I'm just so disappointed in the Republican Party. They won't stand up. They won't fight. They're constantly checking the wind on everything. And sometimes that's important, but not all the time. And this guy is a tenacious fighter. He's a passionate person. He is very, very sincere. And this is something that I've been waiting for. I'm 60 years old. This is something I've been waiting for in the Republican Party all my life. I'm a very passionate person, Kevin, and I don't beat around the bush unless I'm pheasant hunting. And to see somebody stand up and fight, and this is something that a lot of us conservative American people have been asking for from the people that we have elected, and they have failed us time and again. And I hope that they get a lesson from this man, Donald Trump, and see what a true, passionate, strong American that stands up, has a backbone, and is not just a stuffed suit.
Jim and Star, we appreciate, or Jim and Middleton, thank you very much. For some reason, I have Star in my mind, and you're right. How many times during Obama did we think all was lost?
Right, exactly. Anyway, I actually am in Star right now, Kevin. But have a great day, Kevin, and again, happy birthday, and we'll keep listening.
Thank you, Jim. Have a great day. Take care, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Liberty Linda joins us now. We had a lot of people saying, is that Liberty Linda? Is that Liberty Linda last night? Good to see you with us.
Oh, how sweet. I was there in heart and soul, that's for sure. And, last night, Kevin, the Patriots with Tom Brady may have won the Super Bowl. However, President Trump hit it out of the ballpark last night. It was the best State of the Union address I had ever heard. Of course, then we had Nancy Pelosi shaking her head no in negative, while our president, the president of all the people, gave facts of all of his improvements. Now, he has made across the board with all peoples of the United States, uniting all of us. No matter who it was, he has united the people of the United States. And then what did we have, Kevin? All of us saw it. Then we had Pelosi fiddling with all those papers in the background. What in the world was she doing, Kevin? Have you ever seen anything like that before?
Standing up, walking around. Crazy Pelosi, yes.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen that before. What was she doing with all that paperwork? I don't know. Anyway, I give the president an A+ for what he has done since becoming president of the United States, and I give him A+ on the State of the Union address last night. I thought he was absolutely marvelous. The guests that he chose to be there, I cried for every single one of them. It was just, and how he gave honor to God throughout the whole address touched my heart. Anyway, the United States will never be a socialistic country. We are under God with liberty for all of our citizens. So anyway, I give the president an A+ last night. And you know what else, Kevin?
What's that, Liberty Linda?
I give your show, I give you an A+ also. If we couldn't tune into you every morning, you have the best show, Kevin. We love you. We love your show. And I love your guests, too. They're allowed to say the things they feel in their heart and soul. So thank you, Kevin. That's what I have to say this morning. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. You're in our prayers. And
thank you for all those who asked for me last night. Believe me, I wanted to be there. If there was any way I could have been there, I would have. The people of Idaho are the best. They are truly the best.
You're the best, Liberty Linda, but God bless and get well soon, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. All right, coming up next, the media reaction, but even more importantly, we would love to have your reaction to last night's State of the Union. The best ever, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Well, the libs don't like this one, folks. Apparently, according to the ever-objective CBS News, 76% of Americans approve of the State of the Union. And by the way, we will get to this local issue. We'll get to two issues this morning, amongst many, at 580-5436. Any surprise that the conservative Idaho Supreme Court shot down the challenge to the Medicaid expansion? Any surprise there? Now the legislature will have to come up with the money, and we'll have to figure out how to pay for it. But we'll get to that. I don't know. I thought we're conservative. I had so many folks come up to me last night from Oregon, from California. By the way, thank you for joining us. You're part of the Miller Militia. You're part of KIDO Talk Radio. Because this just doesn't happen in any part of the country where you have conservative people getting together, cheering. It was like a football game, people going back and forth on this. And we're supposed to be a conservative state, and we need to continue conservatism. Because if the libs take over, we're going to call it, San Francisco East right here. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
7's Eric Everett.
Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. So we are taking your thoughts on the State of the Union last night. And again, Thank you, so many of you who joined us at Dave & Buster's. We appreciate that, and we continue to try and fight for traditional American values.
Let us work together to build a culture that cherishes innocent life.
We go to Security Guard Mike. Good morning. Quick turnaround for all of us. Thank you for joining us, Security Guard Mike.
Well, Kevin Miller, that was a beautiful. You know how to throw a birthday bash, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It was wonderful last night. It was great. And that State of the Union was a grand slam, I thought, pointing out all the wonderful things that Trump is doing besides trying to get the wall built. He's done so many other things. The First Step Act to help people get rehabilitated out of prison and get ready to come back into society. Beautiful thing. I can't believe it. And then he got the women to even stand up, even though they were sitting on their thumbs most of the night on the Democrat side. All those ladies in white had to stand up, and they didn't even really want to stand up when he was talking about all the wonderful things he did for women. Unbelievable. I mean, don't they understand that he's helping them too? All along the way, it was a beautiful speech all night. It was a great night. You had a great fan base there, and it was a beautiful night. Thank you to you and Dave & Buster's and all that for allowing that to happen. And that birthday bash was wonderful, and I hope it was a wonderful birthday and a great memories for you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. God bless, Security Guard Mike.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Coming up, more Breakfast with Friends. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Once again, thank you very much for attending our Dave & Buster's State of the Union watch party last night. We were just blown away by the passion and people cheering, and it was like mimicking what was going on the House floor. Speaking of the House floor, joining us now, Congressman Russ Fulcher joining us. Got a firsthand view of the State of the Union. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for letting me come on today.
Now I have to ask you, were you sitting next to Kevin McCarthy?
I was two or three rows right behind him.
Yeah, I thought I saw you last night.
Yeah.
First and foremost, this is one time, many times, where Kevin Miller just shuts up and here's what you have to say, your thoughts.
Well, it was the first time that I've been able to see a State of the Union in person. And frankly, I thought the president did a fabulous job. He was himself. He was very explanatory of everything going on. But I thought with just a little bit of the edge off, in the sense that he really did reach out and point out some common ground with everybody in the building. You could certainly tell the palpability of the difference in philosophy, let's say, on one side of the room versus the other. But given the circumstances, he took a victory lap, rightfully so, with all the positive things that have gone on under his administration. But that he came back around and he talked about some things that everyone had some common appreciation for. The women leadership, the heroes that were there as guests, commenting about great countries don't participate in endless wars. All those things were roundly supported by everyone in the room.
Now, for people, most of us that have never been to the House chamber, can you describe it? Is it very big?
Probably looks bigger on TV than it really is. I mean, you got to remember, I don't know how many people were in that, but you had all of Congress, all of the Senate, the cabinet, the judiciary, and so there was a chair every place. Let's put it this way: if you wanted to use a restroom, you better do it before the thing starts, because you're not going to be able to get in and get out very easy. But it's not that big of a room, but the history in it is certainly what strikes me the most. And frankly, that's the thing that makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck when you go in and you realize, oh my goodness, there's so much that's happened here. There's so many great people that have come before and made impacts that has lasted throughout the years.
Congressman Fulcher joining us now. I'm going to hit you with a little nostalgia. You know, as a young man growing up, you remember those great speeches by President Reagan. And here you are as a congressman watching them now, seeing the president in person, seeing all the female Congress folks in white. What went on in your mind last night as a person?
Well, probably some things that were good, some things that were bad. On the positive side, I couldn't help but just try to take a pause and reflect on some things in my own life that had transpired that allowed me to be in that situation, and the people that have trusted me with their vote, with their representation, and ultimately that's the real the humbling thing about this is that there's a lot of people, very good people, who entrust you to act on their behalf, and so there's a feeling of weight on the one side there, responsibility, but there's also the feeling of honor, and that this is an important role that people have entrusted you to do, and it's a necessary role, and it's an honorable one, and we've kind of forgotten that, and rightfully so with all the shenanigans that has transpired and whatnot. But if it wasn't for that system, if it wasn't for that network of governance, then the world as we know it, the world order, would simply not be the way it is now, and it would be much worse. And so, Kevin, I don't know, there's so many things that rush through your mind, but also, as you know, I'm a person of faith, and I couldn't help but just try to share some thanks and ask for guidance as the days progress, being in that situation.
Congressman Fulcher joining us, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Your thoughts on the president talking about a culture of life? You've been pro-life for many, many years. We've seen you at Idaho Chooses Life over the years. The president saying all children born and unborn made under the holy image of God.
Which is entirely in sync with my beliefs, and I believe the large majority of the people sitting on the side of the room that I was in. And to hear the subtle hush and even groans coming from elsewhere in the building is one of the most astounding things that has ever happened to me. That was, at least reflecting back, was the low point of the evening. Is if there is ever such a thing as a no-brainer, I mean, in terms of what's important, if you can't stand for life, if you don't honor and revere life at its basic core, then you can rationalize just about anything. I mean, what is your system of priority? And so that very statement and the response or lack thereof from some in that room was the most disappointing part of the evening.
Congressman Fulcher, your thoughts on when the president said that we would never be a socialist country and the chants of USA, USA. Again, it sounded like a pep rally last night during the State of the Union.
I have a confession to make. I started that chant at least one time.
That's awesome.
But that was a targeted statement, I believe. There is a segment of my class, a freshman class, on the other side of the aisle that richly subscribe to that notion, and it's their belief that that's the best move economically, socially for our nation. I couldn't help but reflect last night. Most of them are younger than you or I.
Right. And
some of the guests that were in the room were elderly men and women who have spent time in World War II or in circumstances of great sacrifice for this nation. And I couldn't help but wonder what was going through these people's minds. But back to the president's statement, I believe that was a targeted statement specifically geared towards that segment of Congress who thinks that this radical move is somehow going to be beneficial to America over the long term.
Congressman Fulcher joining us, KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. How's it going as far as the eventual continuing resolution. It's going to run out soon. How is that going to keep the government rolling?
One of two things is going to happen in the next few days. Either the two parties will come to terms and there'll be some kind of a deal brokered, or I believe the president is going to act unilaterally with executive order. Either way, there's going to be action taken on southern border security. Now, being a member of Congress and understanding, at least to some extent, how things are supposed to work, I certainly hope it's the former. However, I will also say that I think the chances of that are less. If I were to try to wager on how things was going to proceed, I would guess that there will not be a deal and the president will.
Congressman Folger joining us here, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller in the morning. Congressman, are you with us? We'll try it one more time. Congressman?
Okay, I'm here. I think I lost you just for a second. I was going through an elevator. Kevin, forgive me.
No worries. So the president's stance on MS-13 last night, we haven't seen a national leader call out this national threat, talk about the crisis on the border. The media refuses to cover it. The other folks, they didn't seem to acknowledge it. Your thoughts on the president's statement, sir?
Well, we've seen it. If you're a member of Congress, you've been briefed on it. You've seen things and data that are irrefutably outlandish. I mean, this is a dangerous group of human beings that have significant resources on their own to create havoc and quite honestly just inflict a whole lot of bad things within our society. And he called them out on it. And this is something that has impacted so far the border states more than it has us directly in Idaho, but it impacts all of us nationwide, and it's a serious threat. And so the fact that he called them out and and identified them specifically, it accurately substantiates the fact that this is a real threat. And if we don't take action on this front, then it's going to proliferate in a very negative way.
Congressman, you've been to our watch parties before. What do you want to say to people? Because people miss you. They support you. They're cheering for you. What would you say to them if you were here? Well, you are here. What would you say to? What do you want to say to the folks?
First of all, thank you for being part. Thank you for being there. Thank you for caring. In fact, a big part of our responsibility as citizens is knowledge. And when you're participating like that, you're adding to your knowledge, and it's also a time where you can discuss ideas and you can communicate back and forth as to what is the proper course of action and debate some of these issues. It's I will tell you in this case, I was honored to be there in person. The second best place I would have wanted to been was with that group last night, because they're great people, and I wish I wasn't there in that sense.
All right, Congressman, here's the final one. We'll get you out. Hopefully this will make you smile. You're an Idahoan through and through. Your family has been here for years. You're used to, well, in your previous life, you were a world traveler, but, I mean, your home is Meridian. I mean, the culture shock between, I don't know, going to the village at Meridian to working on the National Mall. I mean, you're from the country and now you're in the big city. Thoughts?
Yesterday, early in the morning, I left Idaho and touched down in Washington, D.C. at 3:00, and it was 72 degrees. I thought they took us to the wrong city. But then very quickly you get in the car and you see the vast demographic change. And Kevin, there's a blessing that some of us take for granted a lot. there is a very few places on this planet, if any, that can compare with our home state and can compare with the environment and the people there. Be appreciative for what we've got. Be thankful for what we've got. And let's work hard to try to maintain that lifestyle so that Idaho doesn't turn into the same thing that places like this are from a demographic standpoint.
Congressman Fulcher, please be very careful. Thank you for making yourself available, and you have a great day, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, and we'll be staying tuned to KIDO.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Congressman Fulcher joining us. Your reaction next. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio, taking your reaction to the State of the Union. Good morning, Hank.
I think he did a tremendous job on it and called on it. But the point of it is this. I think he's setting the table for basically calling for the executive action to have the wall built. The Democrats, having the open border to the Democrats is the promise of the elixir of permanent power. In other words, if this continues, Texas will be in the Democratic column just as much as California by the overwhelming of what happened, and it'll make it impossible for another Republican to be elected for at least a generation in office. And the Democrats are willing to stake everything on this. That's why they're not interested in making any kind of compromise or deal or docket. That to them is not important. The importance is power, and that's what it's been all about for them. And I enjoyed seeing where Nancy Pelosi was shuffling with her papers when he made the comment about people who live behind walls, because she's one of the ones that lives behind walls and doesn't have to face the consequences of what her policies do. And they don't frankly care about what happens to other people. It's all about keeping themselves in power and running Washington. And there's going to be no compromise, because that's the tickler in all this. So that's my point.
Your point is always welcome. Take care, brother.
Bye.
Bye-bye. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up next, Fox News on the radio. Two stories that we do want to talk about. Number one, the Idaho State Supreme Court says Medicaid expansion is constitutional. So much for that lawsuit. And your reaction to the State of the Union. Socialism will not fly in America. Won't you join us? We're just getting started. Waking up on the right side. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.